I only asked because my ex was already walking toward me, smiling like she'd planned this moment for months, and I panicked. The words fell out of my mouth before my brain could stop them, and when I turned, my Apache neighbor was standing there with a grocery bag in one hand and calm in her eyes like nothing in the world could surprise her anymore. "Will you be my girlfriend for 5 minutes?" I whispered, my heart hammering so loud I was sure everyone could hear it. She looked past me once, saw my ex, then looked back at me and said, "5 minutes might not be enough," and slipped her hand into mine like she'd been waiting for the question all along. My ex froze. Her smile cracked just slightly, and I felt something sharp and electric rush through my chest. This wasn't supposed to work. This was supposed to be a desperate, embarrassing mistake. But my neighbor Lena leaned into me, her shoulder warm, her presence steady, and introduced herself before I could say a word. She spoke with quiet confidence, not trying to impress anyone, not rushing, just existing like she belonged exactly where she was. My ex laughed, that high laugh she used when she was uncomfortable, and said, "Wow, you move on fast." Lena smiled back and said, "Only when it feels right," and squeezed my hand just enough to make my knees weak. We started walking together, all three of us, and every step felt like walking deeper into something dangerous. My ex kept asking questions that sounded innocent, but were sharpened like knives. How did we meet? How long had it been? What did I do wrong with her that I suddenly did right with someone else? Before I could answer, Lena spoke. She told a version of the truth wrapped in just enough mystery to make it impossible to poke holes in. She talked about late-night conversations, shared silence, respect, and how some people only notice what they lost when it's no longer available. My ex's face changed with every sentence, and I realized Lena wasn't just helping me save face. She was dismantling something. Then my ex said my name the way she used to when she wanted control, and the air went cold. She told Lena I wasn't who I pretended to be, that I was selfish, weak, and afraid of commitment. My stomach dropped because those words used to own me. Lena didn't argue. She didn't raise her voice. She simply said, "I know exactly who he is, because he didn't hide when he was scared. He asked for help." The silence that followed was so heavy it felt like the world paused to listen. My ex walked away without another word. No dramatic exit, no final insult, just gone. When she disappeared around the corner, my legs finally gave up and I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding for years. I thanked Lena, already feeling embarrassed for dragging her into my mess. But she didn't let go of my hand. She looked at me and said, "You didn't ask me to lie. You asked me to stand with you." There's a difference. That's when I noticed her hand was shaking too. We sat on the curb, groceries forgotten, and for the first time I really saw her. Not just as my quiet neighbor who nodded politely in the hallway, but as someone who carried stories behind her eyes. She told me about growing up between worlds, about people assuming things before listening, about learning early when to speak and when to stay silent. She said yes because she recognized that look in my face, the look of someone about to be hurt by the past all over again.
"I've been there," she said simply.
I laughed then, a real laugh, because the absurdity finally caught up with me. I asked her if she did this often, pretending to be strangers' girlfriends. She raised an eyebrow and said, "Only when the moment matters." We walked home together, slower this time, and something shifted between us. Subtle but undeniable. When we reached our building, I realized I didn't want the 5 minutes to end. I didn't want to go back to being polite neighbors, pretending we didn't notice each other. Before we parted, she asked me a question that hit harder than anything my ex had ever said. "If you hadn't needed a shield today, would you still want to know me?" I answered without thinking. "Yes." She nodded, satisfied, and said, "Then next time, ask me without fear." She went inside, leaving me alone with a quiet hallway and a heartbeat that felt like it was starting something new. That night I understood something terrifying and beautiful. The most shocking moment wasn't running into my ex or asking a stranger to pretend to love me. It was realizing that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is ask for help, and sometimes the person who saves you was right next door all along.